let's start off with Chemic.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about how you guys started and how you would describe the sound.
Really, it started as kind of a solo project of mine. I went in, my buddy Keith and I, we decided we'd record like a solo CD for me, and then we invited some different dudes that Keith knew to play on the record, and they came in, and like Shane came in and like just laid down like these ridiculously great keys tracks all in like one night, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then this whole process took a long time. Then we all kind of became friends over that time, and kind of after a little while, it was obvious that it wasn't just a solo thing anymore. It was obviously a band, and the guys were all up for playing together. So we just had it be a band from then on, and then it's gone through some incarnations since then. But
how many band members?
Originally there was like 6. Now there's 3 of us. And there's me, Shane, who plays keyboards, and he does a lot of guitar work, and then John, who plays the drums.
And you guys already have one CD out,
right?
And you just went on tour of the Midwest. How many cities did you stop?
We did, I think there was 8 cities. We did 10 shows in 8 days, I think.
All right, so give us the high of the tour and give us the low of the tour.
High of the tour was definitely probably Peoria, Illinois, of all places. We played at this like warehouse with a bunch of like high school bands, but there was like 120 high school kids there who just had no clue who we were. We kind of got on the show last minute, and then they, as soon as we kind of hit into our second song, which is a little bit more upbeat, the whole place just kind of went nuts, and we did really, really well. Like sold a ton of merch, and they can't wait to have us back, and that was a lot of fun. It was a little different than a couple of the other shows. They mostly all went really well. St. Louis was a train wreck. The sound guy didn't even show up. The promoter didn't show up. Nobody outside of the other bands we were playing with showed up. And we ended up, we got on that show kind of last minute too. The other bands were kind of angry that we were playing. And one of them was actually from Louisville, but that's a whole other story.
No naming names?
No naming names. I've already gotten called a douchebag for that one already from them. But we took off after we played because it was like, we don't want them thinking we're sitting around waiting to get paid. Obviously, we didn't bring anybody, but we went to the St. Louis City Museum, which was just unbelievable, and it was so much fun. And actually, we were in one of the bars in there, and some dude came up to us. He's like, "Aren't you guys Chemic? Did you play it at the Wedge earlier?" And we were like, "Yeah." He's like, "You guys are great," and I was like, "Somebody was there." But yeah, no, St. Louis ended up being like the worst show ever, but like one of the most fun nights we've ever had together. So it was cool.
Lemonade on lemons, I guess.
Yep.
Now, the show's coming up. Obviously, Backseat Sandbar is putting on a show on Saturday that you've been gracious enough to come play at. Tell us a little bit about it, and we'll let you do the promo for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Cassiotone for the Painfully Alone, who is just awesome. Kind of a dancey electronic band, and it's just the one dude and all of his toys.
Gizmos and gadgets.
Yeah. No, and that's great. I've talked to a lot of people who are just real excited about him playing, and then we are playing, and then also You're My Density, who, from what I can gather, this will be their first show, but I've heard their record and it's great, and it's a lot like Cassiotone, except it's, from what I understand, they're a Back to the Future themed band.
Which can't be sad.
No, you can't beat that, which is pretty freaking great. So.
Well, speaking of first shows, do you remember your first show?
I absolutely remember our first show. It was at Uncle Pleasant's. No, not Uncle Pleasant's. It was at the Poorhouses, the Louisville Lovers Volume 7 release show.
And you guys had a track on that?
We had a track on that before we ever played a show, and we came out and we decided that we'd play like 5 songs in and out, but play kind of as crazy and as loud as we possibly could. And we got off the stage and everybody loved it, and that was a lot of fun, yeah.
And so also you have a band called Bro Steven, which is, I call it a band. How would you describe it?
Brother Steven is like a
project?
No, I'd say it's a legitimate band because we definitely play shows, and we've actually I've done a little bit of touring with it, and we plan on doing a lot with it here in the next coming months. It's mostly a I mean, it's definitely something that started out as kind of just a songwriting project of mine, but has grown into a lot more. It's um, pretty much I just write songs and record demos of them, and then send them to my friend Kim, who lives in Nashville, and also to my buddy Mike, who lives in Bloomington. And whenever we can, we get together and play. It's just kind of like a real low key, a little bit dark, but like all kind of harmony, lots of like harmonies and non-linear songwriting is what I try to go for.
And you guys have a show coming up soon as well.
Yeah, Friday night we're playing at Al's Bar in Lexington with Englishman, who is this guy Andrew English, who's just awesome.
Right.
And
I think he opened for Blind Prince Billy.
Yeah.
I saw that show. He was fantastic. So for all the Lexingtonites, go check out that show.
yeah, it's
Do
gonna be
you know
fun.
what time that starts?
I think it starts at 8, but it might start. It's 8 or 9, one of those. But we're real excited about that. Andrew's a good friend of mine, so.
And so I see a lot of people, especially artists, that have more than one band or project going on at the same time. Why do you think that you have, or why do you have two? Why do you feel the need to do two?
For me, it's a songwriting issue. I think I really love songwriting. I love the process of it, and I love capturing moods and stuff like that. Chemic is definitely a full band effort. It's not like my band necessarily. I write the songs for the most part, but it's definitely a sound. It's kind of like an indie rock band, and a lot of the songs that I like to write or that really move me personally are not in that vein. And though I love music like that, and I love writing that music, and I love playing in Chemic, there's definitely a part of me that really enjoys doing something a little bit more low key and laid back. And I mean, me and my buddies actually had a punk band for a while too, called Dick Bruiser and the Punches, which is just like this old school punk band, and it's a lot of fun. But
No more shows for them.
no, we actually never played any shows. We do have a record though, to get you on.
I want to hear it.
But it's just kind of you can't do everything with one band. Otherwise, at least if you want people to, I don't know, maybe you can. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I like to keep the different things separate a little bit, and I like doing different things. So.
And it's my understanding also that Chemic has a release coming up, maybe not soon, but in the near future, and Bro Steven as well.
Yeah. We Chemic, we are recording our record right now. Really excited about it. Sounds really great so far, and we're doing it completely ourselves, which is exciting, but it's taking much longer than we would like it to because life happens. And but I think it's going to come out real well. And then Brother Steven, we are recording in either September or October with my buddy Mike, who's also a part of the band. He's recording it. He does a lot of recording up in Bloomington, and so that should be coming out a little later, but that's definitely on the pipe too.
And then, in the little time we have, what advice would you give to bands that are starting off in Louisville that obviously now you've gained a niche in the Louisville market, especially where you can say Chemic and people know who you're talking about. You're going to have another album coming out. If somebody wants to get to that point, we're still not talking about expanding markets. We've already done the Midwest tour, but just for Louisville, is it going person to person saying, listen to this? Is it going viral? What would you recommend?
Man, I don't know. I still feel like nobody knows who we are in a lot of sense, but I have been playing shows around here for the past like 4 years or so. Chemic has been a band for a couple years now, and really, we've done the Louisville's for Lovers thing several times, which definitely helped, I think. But you play as many shows as you can, but you also try and play the right shows, get on some cool shows. But one thing that I think is the best thing is just make friends with some other bands who you like, maybe aren't super similar to you, but like just keep make as many friends as you can. Go to a lot of shows, meet people, meet out of town bands that you think are cool, and pick people's brain. And I think unfortunately music is the thing where art and business collide quite a bit, and networking is definitely a huge part of having a legitimate band. I think, not that I do it well, but I think it's something I aspire to do well, for sure.
Well, you've heard it here. Check them out on Saturday at the School Alley.